Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Piglet here. And I'm Duffy Duck here. We are back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more of Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games for the Nintendo Wii. So, last time we have managed to able to go through day 4 all the way up to day 6, which, to top it off, and during day 5, we managed to able to beat the likes of E123 Omega during the forms of speed skating 500 meters. So today for this episode is the fact that we're about to be continuing things on in festival mode while going through day 7, and probably we're going to be going through day 8 to top it off as well. So even then, as you can see, we got one training session and as well as one main event right here, which is Alpine skiing downhill. But for the meantime, we're focusing on the training event right here, which is none other than figure skating itself. So even then, let's get to this. So even then, today's day is the 4th of the 6th of January in 2020, in this case on Monday. So relatively speaking, we are still going to go for this uploading schedule system, because you know how the fact that we're actually going to be focusing on 3 games at a time based off on the actual days of the week. So just like, you know, we're going to be continuously uploading this during, you know, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays potentially, if we got enough time to able to conclude it. And as well as from that recently Tiana is managed to able to get on with, you know, Kirby's Adventure Wii and stuff. And also that recently Mickey Mouse has managed to able to get things started with his Let's Play of Super Mario Kart, which even then, because you know he was about to be, or we are about to be going back to the past from the Mario Kart series, and also eventually at this point we might actually go back to the past from the Mario Party series eventually though, so that way we can able to do some of those, you know, the redo Let's Plays and all that stuff. So yeah, there's not much else we can able to talk about this at this point in time, folks, I'm afraid. Probably because of how the fact that so far, there's still no luck of Nintendo Directs just yet, though. But as far as I've noticed, they might actually bring one of these Directs into it at some point this month. But we don't know exactly what day is it going to be hosted in. So even then, my expectations might be actually be announced at some point during tomorrow. But then again, though, we don't know exactly for sure just yet, though, because then again, though, it is super top secret for most of the actual categories as far as I'm aware. But hopefully, though, Piglet, though, we'll mention more on that until whenever that's been announced, then we can able to surely get back into this. And eventually, that, you know, tomorrow and Thursday, that Tiana might actually focusing on, you know, Kirby's Adventure Wii / Kirby's Return to Dreamland, basically. Yeah, it seems true all in all, but hey, at least that's some more conception for that. So anyways, let's get on to the figure skating itself. Basically, it depends on what specific little actions they have to perform in. Like for instance, I think this is the only time we actually come across this little drawing sequence here, where you have to follow the motion such as the actual number 8. And then if you draw that successfully with that specific timing, then you would able to get yourselves this little red stars representing the jumps that you have to able to time with. And also when you get to the forms of those blue squares where it has like a pink lines, this means you have to keep your balance on your Wii remote and all that stuff. I'm pretty glad to tell you this is the fact that, well, unlike in although we'll get to more on that until whenever we revisit this particular event at some point later down the road. But from now on though, if you manage to go onto this little green circle, this allows you to able to, well, spin the Wii remote upright until you're able to actually just get, you know, some spinning action and stuff. And then when you get to the very end of this performance here, then you do realize about the fact that you're gonna have to perform a pose at the end, such as, well, put the Wii remote upwards. And I'm glad that I'm pretty much used to this though, because unlike in you know, in Sochi 2014 version of this event, that sometimes it's really hard to able to get ourselves a lot more emphasis on good posing at the end, probably because of how the fact that, well, you know, in Sochi 2014 does only utilize the Motion Plus accessory, Whilst most of the time though, sometimes you either make your pose at the end, whilst most of the time though, you probably won't guarantee it. So, at least in Vancouver 2010 though, I found the posing segment at the end is actually pretty easy compared to the forms of how it does in Sochi 2014 in my opinion, because, well, I think it's pretty obvious because it just makes things a little bit simpler. Alright, so here we go with the actual main event in day 7, which is Alpine skiing downhill, and hopefully we can get ourselves a glorious gold medal to top it off. So, yeah, looks like we need to beat Dr. Eggman for a good amount of time, so hopefully we can able to actually just to beat him, so... Aside from everything else though, is the fact that we're really hoping that, well, I would expect the, I don't know if the actual emphasis on Nintendo Direct announcements might actually change the days a little bit, because I'm pretty sure back in 2017, if possible, that it only happens on during Wednesdays, and then on 2018 it happens on Thursdays, and then eventually in 2019, which is last year, it mainly focuses on Wednesdays. So I really don't know what's going to happen in during forms of 2020's schedule when it comes to forms of Nintendo Direct's announcements, as far as I'm aware. Well, we don't know exactly how many of them we might actually get in 2020, because despite we only got a little bit amount of those Nintendo Directs during the forms of last year so far, yeah, this is probably because of how the fact that, well, despite that Nintendo Switch is doing so well, and especially because of how the fact that the actual selling points is actually way better than the forms of how it does it on the Nintendo Wii U, that's for sure. So, yeah, despite the fact that the Wii U itself, while the console itself is pretty good for the most part, but unfortunately the marketing is a miserable failure, which to be expected because they actually bring up to ourselves into, well, we're not gonna put on emphasis on discussing on that too much because you probably guys should already know about this at this point, so anyway, so let's go ahead and not get a penalty at this point. I think we might actually get ourselves a perfect run for this point. Yeah, because after all, as soon as we're able to bypass every single flags, we get a perfect rating, so there we go. And thankfully though, we didn't get any time penalties or anything like that, so kudos to that. Kudos. And to top it off though, definitely, is the fact that we got a new record, so nice. So, yeah, there's not much else we can say about this event, basically. Although, this won't be the final time we're going to be seeing this event, though, because I think we might actually come across into this event again in during forms of the Team Festival mode. So even then, well, don't expect to able to actually just to think that, oh, this will be the last time seeing this event. Well, at least in a singles mode, because until the Team Festival mode, then we might actually still come across into that event. So, just want to classify that. So, again, there's not much else we can really say about, apart from the fact that my predictions on Nintendo Direct at this point in this month, well, at least we don't know exactly when that's gonna be, but I'm pretty sure it might actually be on 8th of January, or 16th, or, well, 15th as far as I like to say, but then again, it's tough to know, so... Alright, so we got another rival appears, so, and this time it's going to take place in Snowboard Cross, so, I wonder if that could be. Hey, I was watching, you know, I saw you training for the Snowboard Cross. Was that really the best you could do? I'm going to show you what riding a board is all about. Have a match with me. So in this case, we're battling against with Jet the Hawk in the forms of Snowboard Cross. In this case, we're about to be facing off against with the leader of the Babylon Rogues, which you've probably already noticed ever since in Sonic Riders games. Specifically, the original Sonic Riders and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, so at least as far as I'm noticing at this point. So, although this will be, well, you probably already know about that. Although, conveniently enough though, this is the last game for able to actually feature Jet's old voice, because, well, specifically for this game, because, well, until Sonic 3 Riders came around, it just might actually felt, his voice might actually feel a little bit weird to me, but I'm pretty darn sure I most likely prefer Jet the Hawk's voice in the older games compared to the recent ones at this point, but then again, it's just a little bit of a nitpick, but hey. But it wasn't until when Rio 2016 came around, and especially noticeable for recently Tokyo 2020, that Jet the Hawk will become playable in, well, specifically football. Because it's kind of a shame that I was expecting that Jet the Hawk will be playable guest in Skateboard, because after all, he always does a lot of skateboard stuff, especially noticeable ever since Sochi 2014. He managed to able to go through Snowboard, Giant Slalom, Parallel, and stuff like that. You remember that from Sochi 2014? And especially noticeable with, oh great, we just got stunned. Or, in this case, we just somehow failed tricks and then just hit on the ground. Yeah, if you get hit by the ground, or even then, if you manage to fall into the ground, what happens is that most of your characters will get covered in snow, so something's worth clarifying from that specific graphical standpoint, but But regardless of everything else though, we did manage to beat him for about 7 seconds, so it's not too bad for that time, and also we got the emblems, such as receive executing 5 or more special tricks by going through Snowboard Cross, so yeah, not bad. And I believe that pretty much wraps it up for day 7, so yeah, it's pretty short though, but eventually, whenever we get to day 8 and beyond, we might actually come across into ourselves, well, after this little results thing out of the way, so even then, Toad once again were able to tell us how much medals that we've got, so even then, let's have a look. We got 3 gold medals so far, which is not bad, and we got 1 first place medal so far still. And the amount of points we got in total is 70 points. So, yeah, I don't think most of these players were able to catch up at this point. So I'm pretty sure we pretty much dominated for the most part. I'm pretty darn sure because of how the fact that, well, most of the other players seem to be far lacking with training departments. So, anyways, we got 2 trainings. In addition with those 2 trainings, which there are short track 1000 meters and Alpine skiing giant slalom. And also, we got ourselves a next dream event, which is dream ski jumping. But of course, we'll go for the training sessions first, such as, well, short track 1000 meters. So, yeah, as what Piccolo has mentioned this before, that eventually at this point in time is the fact that in day 8 all the way up to day 16 if possible, that we might actually come across into ourselves into 3 events in that specific day. And however though, whenever we get to Team Festival mode, that we may actually come across into something completely different for the amount of events we're actually going to be playing through, because, well, we'll point it out whenever we get to it. So, anyways, let's get to it with short track 1000 meters, specifically in Vancouver 2010 version of that specific event. But then again, though, we're not going to point it out for the actual main event itself, or until specifically later down the road in, I can't even remember what day that will be at, so, but then again, we'll find out for ourselves for the meantime though. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep on wackling the Wiimote back and forth, and the entire objective here is the fact that, I would say, this one is actually pretty difficult when you're trying to get the great rating in my opinion, because basically, in this particular objective here, then we need to collect all 15 coins before the time runs out. So, however though, you need to be so precise on the actual turning in this specific parts, because if you don't turn well enough though, sometimes you might end up come across into very annoying don't tilt too far sign symbol that is constantly shown up. Mind you, because of how the fact that it's been such a long time since we actually did manage to play this version of this specific event. Whilst because of this though, Piccolo, I think we're pretty much used to with Sochi 2014 counterparts of this event though, but still nonetheless, there's no need to require the Wii Motion Plus accessory so that you can able to experience properly. But somehow we've only got a good rating, which is okay enough as it is, but I kinda wish if we could able to go a little bit better than that, but oh well, whatever. Okay, so now I believe now we're going to be moving on to another training session, but this time around it's Alpine Skiing Giant Slalom, which it plays exactly like how it did in Alpine Skiing Downhill, except, well, the entire objective on that specific event, although it's slightly similar, but the actual track layout is actually a lot shorter in comparison to the forms of how it does it on the normal downhill event. Especially noticeable with the starting position as well. So, and also you probably noticed, well, we're not going to explain things too much details on that specific parts just yet though, because then again, we'll find out until whenever we get to the actual main event at some point in, I won't classify for saying day 11 if possible, but then again, no, we'll find out for ourselves for that for the meantime. So, yeah, basically, it always plays out exactly like how it did in the, well, as I mentioned this before, Alpine Skiing Downhill, but the major difference is that the actual track layout is actually a lot different layout, so, plus it's a lot shorter compared to the forms of how it does it on, well, the downhill event, so that's pretty much about it, basically. And the objective on this particular training session is the fact that we need to collect 10 or more rings. So, I mean, what's this? Like, we did collect those coins before in short track 1000 meters, and now we're going to be collecting rings. So, from the Sonic series. So, that seems swell. And I think in order to actually get the great rating is the fact that I'm pretty sure you need to gather about 35 rings in total. So, and since after all we got all 35 rings in total, this means I think we might actually guarantee to get ourselves a great rating. So even then, chances are, indeed we did. So even then, training has been completed. However though, there's something we totally forgot to mention about this, is that if you don't do any of those training sessions after all, what happens is the fact that if you don't manage to accomplish the actual objectives as far as I'm aware, you get yourselves training failed, so even then you don't get any points for doing so. So, anyways, now let's move on to the most exciting part of day 8, and that is, the new Dream event, which is Dream Ski Jumping, and this takes place in Good Egg Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. So, yeah, it's pretty cool though, because, you know, this game came out after Super Mario Galaxy came out in 2007, whilst in this game it came out in 2009 basically, so yeah, that makes it a little bit obvious for that specific release order, so yeah. So it looks like we got 2 Sonic characters, which there are, well obviously we're still selecting Silver, and the computer players are Dr. Eggman, and also 2 Mario characters, which is almost like a father-like son, basically, so even now we got Bowser and Bowser Jr. So anyways, the entire objective on this event is pretty simple by the looks of all this, is that after when you get launched onto that specific jump ramp, then you can able to actually just move your character and collect as many points as you can, based off from the colored star bits you're going to be collecting, such as the green ones give you 10 points, the purple ones gives you 30 points, and the orange ones will actually give you 50 points. But the catch is though, as you can see on the top right corner of the screen, that we actually get ourselves a bit of a star coin syndrome from the new Super Mario Bros. Games basically, is that if you collect all 3 of them, something we're able to actually get interesting happens is that, well, assuming if we're able to actually collect all 3 of them, this means this allows you to able to double the amount of points depending on how much points you're going to be gathering, such as, well, we accidentally just missed the 50 star bits. Well, we did manage to get the 10-point star bits, which this allows you to give you 20 points, but if you do manage to get 50 star bit points, then this will give you 100 points instead. So, pretty cool though, and I will say I actually do enjoy this, because even then, that, you know, we're going to be exploring through one of my favorite first levels in the 3D Mario games from the, well, it's hard to explain about it sometimes, but anyways, at the end though is the fact that it's all depending on the forms of the distance as well as your landing performance, is that, well, depends on how much distance you might actually land through, you actually get yourselves points based off on how much further you're able to actually stop at. So even then we got 60 points, which is okay, but hey, at least we managed able to conquer the actual champion, of course. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this Dream event, kind of think about it. But it doesn't even compare it until whenever we get to well, it's all later down the road though, but we'll point it out eventually, so there we go. We haven't got a single first place medal ever since in day 3, so that was about 5 days afterwards. So now we can able to select that event right here, so even then that way we can play that anytime, anywhere, or relatively speaking, for multiplayers respective at that point. And that pretty much takes care of day number 8. So yeah, it's a pretty good day as a result. And now we move on to day number 9, which I'm afraid we haven't got enough time left to able to actually tackle through day 9. And as you can see, figure skating does make a return, but in addition with that, speed skating 500 meters as well. And a new dream event here and there as well. So I guess we should probably end things off here, I'm afraid. So join us in Wednesday for more of Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. Is that we might as well able to go through day 9, and especially noticeable for day 10. So yeah, see you guys on Wednesday. Later fellas, see you then.